Hello and welcome to Career Center. I'm Kimberly White, Executive Director of the Community Career Center. Joining me today to discuss wealth management and careers in the banking and finance industry are Huntington Bank Senior Vice President for Commercial Banking, June Courtney, and Calamos Investments Senior Vice President for Wealth Management, Anita Knot. Ladies, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
So good to have you on the show today. You know what, June, I'm going to start with you. Share a little bit with our viewing audience who you are and what it is. Kind of give me a brief overview of your career.
Sure. So I'm June Courtney. I work for Huntington Bank. I run one of the commercial lending practices for the bank here in Chicago. My origins are not originally from commercial banking in its traditional sense. I basically started in operations in a bank right out of college. I graduated from the University of Illinois. And really took a more predominantly woman-oriented role back in the day. Supporting, it was a support role, and I was elevated to the point of a manager, and I was managing an entire team of people. And it wasn't until the birth of my third child that things were humming along well at the bank, and my maternity leave went uninterrupted for the first time.
Yeah.
And I turned to my husband and I said, I'm going to shift gears. And I asked when I returned to work to have the bank support me, to put me through the bank training program. And, you know, that was for undergrads in their 20s, and I certainly wasn't either of those at that time. I was married with 3 children. And they kind of laughed at me, but they were supportive, and they did do that. And so I came back as a banker in my 30s. Really at that point in what developed as a sales role. And that's really what I do today. I really sell financial solutions to businesses, and those businesses tend to be between 20 million in revenue on up to 500 million in revenue. And that's what I do.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Let's hear a little bit from you, Anita.
Fellow Illini.
Yeah.
So I too went to the University of Illinois quite a few moons ago. But my name is Anita Knot. I'm the Senior Vice President at Calamos Wealth Management. I'm so thrilled to be here. I'd love to be able to say that I knew senior year at the University of Illinois exactly what I wanted to do, and I had a career path all planned out, but that's not the case. So right now, I'm in a leadership role, but I think it's important to say, what was the thought process in getting me here? When I first started, I was recruited into this industry, which was great. Very, very few female investment advisors at the time. I was lucky to find one to work with, to support, to assist in building her business. She was very successful. Taught me a lot of things about the business, but also about myself and what I enjoy doing. And what did I enjoy doing? I enjoyed talking to clients. I enjoyed kind of figuring out the puzzle, because every client, as you know, is so different. Did that for a few years, and then, and I'd love to also talk about women and risk here, I decided to take a risk, quit my job. Got married, we loaded up a U-Haul, didn't have kids at the time, and drove to San Francisco, because isn't that what everybody does? So,
What was in San Francisco?
you know, a dream.
A dream.
Yes, I don't know if it was to be Janis Joplin or to continue in the industry, but it was all in San Francisco, June. So we landed in San Francisco. You know, after a while I ended up working at Wells Fargo, a large bank. But I think it's important to note I took a lateral move. It was not a move forward. It was a lateral move to more of a behind-the-scenes product management type of a role.
Would you do that today? Knowing what you know
Knowing
now.
what I would.
Okay.
And here's why.
Okay.
Did that for 3 years, had our first child out there, and you know what you notice as a mom for the first time when you become a mom? You want your own mom. So we loaded up the U-Haul and drove right back to Naperville, Illinois to be closer to family. So that's what brought me back, but I will tell you, from the moment we moved back from California and joining Calamos pretty quickly thereafter, and this is where I've spent the past 17 years of my career, is this firm. But I think the product management role, combined with what I found out on the client-facing role, really give me the experience to do what I'm doing now. The other element is that, and I think June would agree, you need people kind of in your corner, men and women. You need people to recognize things in you.
You have to convince them.
But you do have to convince them with hard work, your work ethic in general. But I thought many times people picked up things in me that I didn't realize I had in terms of strengths. Leadership was one of them. I would have never said, having graduated from college, that I want to lead a team or build a team.
I had no idea
like
at that time.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But 10 years after that, when I stepped forward and said, this is what I want to do, it was because I had been watching behind the scenes for so many years what a lot of men were doing. And I thought, I can do this.
I can do this too. So
was there ever any point with either of you that you thought you couldn't do it? You never thought?
I constantly say I have self-doubt. I just fake it. I just fake it. I just do. Well, you just do, right? There's so many times when I don't know that many successful people don't have moments of self-doubt.
That's true.
And it's not saying that you don't necessarily have the confidence. I think what I'm saying is that it's okay to have that self-doubt. The point is you need to push past that. And how do you do that? And how do you navigate that? And when you come out to the other side, you say, okay. And then it gets easier the next time and then the next time. But still working in an industry.
But you had confidence in your ability to problem solve.
Absolutely.
So that's the point of differentiation. I think for individuals looking at our careers, if you have the opportunity to think for yourself and think through situations and problem solve, they could be sitting here doing this interview with you.
Absolutely.
So with your respective industries, how has your industry changed over the years? We'll start with you.
Sure. I mean, we're a regulated industry. That shouldn't be any surprise to anyone after the Great Recession in 2008. Added oversight, heightened scrutiny. We really have, as a senior debt lender, we have a narrow bandwidth to operate in and really protect our shareholders and our depositors at the end of the day. I'm in a role that allows us to make a yield, if you will, beyond the deposit spread, if you will, right? And so I have a limited opportunity to have a risk tolerance for the bank. And our opportunity is to build relationships with middle market companies that need our services. At the end of the day, I can still come back to we're a relationship-driven enterprise. And there's a bank on every corner, as you all well know. And the only reason why people choose Huntington Bank is because of its employees that we have in our respective roles. I've been fortunate. I've been doing this a long time where, you know, my origins all the way back to Continental Bank when I started in that role, in that sales role. I've got literally customers who have followed me my entire career. To me, I'm probably most proud of that, that at the end of the day, irrespective of the banner, as proud as I am to be part of Huntington, I'm more thrilled that the clients have chosen me.
Very good. And what about you, Anita?
You know, I think that's a really interesting question because I think I spend so much time kind of thinking about the things that haven't changed, which I'm sure we'll get into also. I think at a very foundational level, the transactional nature of wealth management has changed. In fact, we weren't called wealth management until that's fairly recently, right? Even at Calamos, we were a private client group. We essentially helped high net worth clients with their investments. But now the industry, it's not just Calamos, but the industry has shifted now to Well, for high net worth folks, it's not just about building their wealth, it's also about protecting the wealth. So the wealth planning aspect has become critical. What does that mean? It means not every client discussion is about, did my portfolio go up or down last week or last month? It's really about what pieces of the puzzle do we need to still put into place to make sure that over the long haul, not only that I'm taken care of, but my children and my children's children and so forth. So more from a planning element, I would say that that's been a great evolution in the industry.
And what hasn't changed?
June and I can get into that. You know, what I'd love to see, and I would say, because you referenced post-2008. Post-2008, I think the cool phrase of behavioral finance was like a really in thing, right? Because how much can you stomach before the bottom falls out and you want to get out of the market? And so as financial advisors, we became behavioral therapists, right? We went to school for finance, and instead we needed a degree in behavioral
psychology.
science. Right. But I would say that that's actually been a good thing now, because it opens up the dialogue again to so much more than just the numbers. But
it's a risk tolerance conversation. And it is. And I have that with my clients, even on a senior debt basis. Absolutely. You know, at the end of the day, when you're asking them what do they want out of this business and how can I help you, it really is the same conversation, just with different words.
Right. And I think a good transition perhaps to another topic would be, who has conversations and relational conversations better than women? Right? And we know many men who are successful, but I think that that's a tremendous strength for many women that is not talked about when you're talking about this as a career option for young women.
Right.
Yeah.
As you both referenced 2008, 2009, how are we doing now? How do you feel the industry in both cases are doing since then? In terms of, do you see, I mean, I've heard people say, you know, we may be going back in that direction. Do you hear that, see that?
I have a view that 2020 may be a softer year than 2019, and 2019 may not be as strong of a year as 2018. It's just, you know, and certainly there's sectors that, you know, healthcare, for instance, will continue to do well. Technology companies, I think, will do well. It depends on where the automotive sector is going to go. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, as much as you think the Rust Belt's gone away, you know, there's a lot of economies still in the Midwest tied to automotive support.
And I think from our standpoint, and this does sound cliche, and I get that, but we always tell clients to focus on the long haul. The challenge comes when you're talking to a 70-year-old client versus a 40-year-old client. The definition of long-term is very different. But the thought is that if your investment horizon is a little bit further off, obviously your allocation is going to look a little bit different. And you don't have to panic with, for example, the type of months that we've seen recently. And we have clients who kind of say, I'm not going to look at that, I don't need these assets, and they look the other way.
So. All right, well, we are going to come back and continue this discussion. Up next, careers in the banking and finance industry discussion will continue. We'll be right back after these public service announcements.